morning. Welcome to a fairly breezy Mull this morning. I've come to a little secluded area near Locked On just to see if I can get out the window a little bit. Hopefully that'll not buffer the microphone too much. And this morning's message from Mull is retrain your taste buds. Now, lots of folks often say to me that they find it very hard to change certain habits, certain eating habits, because they've developed a real taste for often sugary things or salty things. But there are ways of retraining our taste buds. It just takes a little bit of effort and a little bit of time. Now, in terms of your taste buds, obviously most of them are located on the tongue, and they're like tiny little sort of wart-like structures on the tongue. They're not just on the tongue. We also have some around the other parts of our mouth, especially near the back of the throat, and their job is basically to taste our food. And from an evolutionary point of view, that's sometimes had survival implications. So our taste of sour and bitterness is linked back to avoiding sort of poisonous plants or protein-rich food that has probably seen better days as well. So it's evolved as a protective mechanism to stop us getting infected with nasties, but also in a way to identify calorie-rich foods. And again, from an evolutionary point of view, that would have kept us alive at one stage. So primarily sugary foods, fatty foods, and salty foods, which obviously we don't really need excess salt these days, but when we're talking hundreds of thousands of years ago as we were evolving, then salt played a pretty key role in our water balance and getting certain electrolytes into our body. So taste is a very important mechanism for the human being, and taste is really, oops, I don't know what that was. Taste is not just about the sort of receptors on your tongue. Your smell also plays quite a role in that as well, and it's got quite an emotive link, because if you think about it, when we experience a bad taste or a pretty foul smell, we get that nauseous feeling. Some people actually want to throw up. Another nice thought for breakfast this morning if you're watching this. And on the other end of the scale, if we experience a pleasant odour linked to food, then we tend to salivate a bit more. It's sort of a mouth-watering experience for us. And your taste is pretty compromised if you have a stuffy nose. So you probably remember times when you've had a bad cold, and taste goes out the window a little bit, because the two are intrinsically linked, really. So as adults, we have about 2,000 to 4,000 taste buds on our tongue, and they identify 5 different tastes. So we're talking about sweet, sour, salty, savoury, and bitter. And recent research has tended to suggest that sort of a fatty taste as well has been identified as well. So that might be the 6th. And certainly our palate reacts well to fat, salt and sugar. And as I say again, that would have been an evolutionary response, because they're the sort of foods that would have kept us alive for long periods of time. And you may have heard before that the tongue is basically split into different zones, and that it tastes different things in different areas. That's a bit of a myth, actually. We taste all of those. We taste all of those tastes across the whole tongue, and just bits of the tongue are a bit more sensitive. So the sides are pretty sensitive, and actually, the rear of the tongue is a bit more sensitive to that sort of bitter taste. And again, that's a protective mechanism to make sure that we don't swallow things that might harm us. If we sort of get to that area, we don't want to swallow them if they taste bitter, or if it's protein-rich food that is perhaps going off. So Your taste buds are replaced every 10 days to 2 weeks. So you're probably wondering, what the hell is he on about this morning? Probably think that most mornings. And it's just to let you know really that if you're used to having, say, 2 sugars in your tea, as I was for many, many years, it is possible to get down to 1 or 0. It just takes a bit of dedication, and it just takes a bit of time to let your taste buds adapt. So we're always regenerating ourselves, and exactly the same with our taste buds. They sort of die away, and then we produce new ones. And in fact, if we injure them, say you burn your tongue on a hot coffee, you probably recognize that your taste is not quite there for a little while, but it does come back, and they regenerate as fast as possible. So, what the message really is, just try to give yourself a little bit of time. And if you're trying to develop a new habit, say around having less salt on your food, which is often a big one for a lot of people, we tend to just pick up the salt cellar these days and go for it without actually tasting our food. When you're trying to reduce the use of sugar or salt or fat into your diet, then give it a little bit of time. And your food may taste a bit bland for a while. That's pretty much a given. But give it sort of 2-3 weeks, and you'll probably find that because you're starting to develop new taste buds, if they haven't been subjected to the same high levels of sugar or salt, then what you perceive will change. And from a personal point of view, when I came down from, oh sorry, I'm doing a little blog. Hello, nearly got a dog today. If you change from 2 sugars down to 1, other local that thinks I'm nuts, then for a little while it tasted very strange, but now that's become the norm for me, so that tastes fine. And if I have 2 spoonfuls of sugar now, it tastes pretty rank actually. So hoping to get down to 1 soon. And that's the key, make it a gradual process. Try not to turn your diet upside down. Get there in baby steps, and your taste buds will come with you. So in terms of trying to manage your weight, this is one little strategy that you can employ, along with many others that we talk about on this platform. It may not be the only thing that makes a difference, but it's a little ploy that you can try. And 1 spoonful of sugar in a cup of tea may not seem like an awful lot, but when you add that up over days, weeks and years potentially, then that can be a lot less energy going into the body that you don't require. And if you can cut down your salt intake, then that has a real implication to your arterial health on a long-term basis. So give it a go, give it time, stick with it. And just recognize there will be a period where perhaps your food tastes a little bit blander, but it will come back with time. Okay, I'm going to go before another local walks past and questions my sanity. And oh, here we got that. Quite amazing rainbow just to finish off with. There we go. Dolphins, rainbows, what else could you want? See you Wednesday. Stay safe, guys. Bye-bye.